Okay, so in the last recording we talked about how vibration or density is the only difference between your physical and non-physical self. So it is one and the same, but each operates at different frequencies or vibrations. So when you think of a rock is heavy and dense, it's vibrating at a lower frequency. Now think of a light, airy feather floating in the air. Well, that's vibrating at a higher frequency. So when you think of yourself, your being or your essence, think of it like one entity that is made up of higher and lower frequencies, okay? So when you have a desire and it manifests in your physical reality, it is because you are resonating with the part of yourself that functions at the higher frequency, okay? Let me clarify that, because when you're always manifesting, and what I want to say is when you're resonating with the part of yourself that functions at a higher frequency, you're manifesting faster what you desire, okay? So often people will say that you'll manifest when your frequency matches that of what you desire, but I don't agree with that. I don't think that's actually the case. And I think that's the cause of a lot of confusion. What you're actually a match to is the higher or low vibration of you, of yourself, not of the thing, because the thing doesn't really physically exist, okay? Everything is an interpretation. So you're vibrating with yourself, the part of yourself that resides with your desire. It's quicker, it's lighter, it's everything that you love and want, and it brings joy. That is the higher vibration self, part of yourself. So imagine yourself as a scale or a chart of frequencies. And as you contemplate your non-physical self, your vibration or your physical self changes, okay? So let's say you are loving yourself today and your vibration changes and becomes higher. You're like, I'm feeling good today. You are vibrating at a higher frequency. If you're feeling doubt or sadness about yourself, your vibration changes and becomes a lower or heavier frequency. So you are constantly riding up and down that scale throughout the day and through your physical life, actually. So the lower your vibration, the closer you are to being like your physical self. The higher your vibration, the closer you are to being like your non-physical self. So you align with either or somewhere in between the two all day and night, all your life. So when we talk about going to get your manifestation, we're really talking about deliberately vibrating at a higher frequency. Okay, that's called deliberate manifestation. That's what some people call it, or deliberate creation. And we have this ability because the higher vibration is vibrating higher and lighter and faster. When you resonate with that frequency, you experience your manifestations faster. Okay, they bring more joy because it's joy is resonating with a higher vibration. So remember when we said the physical is not real? Well, it's not. And that's why your manifestations don't come into your physical world. Your non-physical cannot create in your physical world. It creates your manifestation, but the reason why we say you have to go get it is because you have to vibrate with the part of yourself that resides with that manifestation, okay? So I know this sounds a little wacky or hard, but it's not. Just hang in there with me. So when you experience your desires as manifestations, as physical manifestations, is because you have aligned yourself at a frequency that now allows you to perceive your manifestation where it is, okay, which is always just your interpretation. So if the manifestation is that car, okay, there is no physical car. It's your perception, your interpretation of a vibration, okay? So that's why it's so important to remember you are not just your physical self. I can't say that enough. Okay, so remember you are a non-physical entity expressing yourself in a time-space reality as a physical self. You are not actually physical, but for the sake of being in and benefiting from your experience here, you have to interpret the physical realm as real, as a material place, when in fact you're just interpreting vibration, okay? So now let's talk about what happens when you vibrate at a lower frequency or resonate more with your lower, denser physical self. This is where most of us are conditioned to be. We've conditioned ourselves to resonate most of the time in this physical, lower vibrating denser place, okay? We just love to vibrate in this lower vibration where our senses just seduce us into finding much comfort in what we see, taste, touch, feel, anything that tantalizes our physical sensations. So we align ourselves, we identify ourselves as physical. So what happens is that our experiences become a match to our vibration. Remember, the physical is a lower vibration. So if we're resonating with a lower vibration, our experiences resonate and match to that lower vibration of ourselves, okay? So if we are resonating in the lower, denser frequencies, what we tend to experience is time seems slower, things feel heavier, life might appear more difficult, everything is heavier and slower and a little harder and just plain physical, okay? So you're dragging around this body in this physical existence. That's what it feels like. That's your interpretation of the lower vibration, okay? Lower vibration, meaning your interpretation, you interpret it and feel it as heavier, denser, physical, okay? A higher vibration, your interpretation, you experience it as faster, quicker, lighter, more joyful, okay? So this is not a bad thing. We want to experience this lower vibration because it is why we enter the time-space physical realm. Not to suffer, but to experience physical reality, to know that we are creators. Okay, remember we talked about that. So some people call this contrast. Some people call it life. Okay, some people call it contrast because they say, well, if you experience the things that you don't want, you know what you do want. That helps you expand. It helps you evolve, helps you grow. That's true. People who call it life, they tend to identify more with that physical self. They're not really identifying themselves as non-physical beings. But in calling it life, we forget that we are not just our physical selves, okay? We forget all about our non-physical higher vibration self, so that's a big part of all of this. Remember when we talked about how you manifest all the time and that it may not appear into your physical until your vibration is a match to the part of you that has experienced the manifestation. Remember we talked about that? Okay, well, this is where we might experience manifestations in this lower vibration that we didn't deliberately or consciously in the physical create. Okay, we will talk about that and why that happens in the next recording. There are times when we manifest things we think we don't want. Okay, remember, it's not that we don't necessarily want it or that it's a bad thing, but our interpretation is that because it's a lower frequency, our interpretation is that it's not something we desire. Okay, so we'll talk about it in the next recording.